What's up, fantasy fans? I'm Shay from the channel Zachary Shay, and today I'm going to be talking about The Severing Sun by Vaughn Roycroft. And a king shall rise from among the kingless, born of exile, and glory shall he rise, and glory shall be his song, calling to the faithful, echoing across the ages. And even in his doom shall he lead unto Uranon. Such is the fate of the bringer. So say the hymns of the dreamers of the Skalani. Bryn Bright Eyes, Saga of Dania. Again, Elon's eye was drawn to movement at the pavilion flap. Acanis's face was pleading and hopeful. Elon longed to go to her, to have done with it all, to accept her place among her people at her near sister's side. She'd already decided this. She hated the thought of riding with a Guattari host again, to be held in arm's length all, and yet covertly ogled for her viewpoints to be tolerated rather than discussed, to keep herself utterly away from her companions for every changed tunic, every washing, and every god's bedamned piss. Valdan didn't want to believe that justice required bloodshed. Accepting that led to too dark a place to contemplate. There simply had to be a path to peaceful resolution. There had to be a way out, a way to break free of the shackles of legacy. So, full disclosure, Mr. Roycroft sent me an audiobook he was asking people to listen and review his audiobook narrated by Alex Wingfield. Absolutely phenomenal audiobook, by the way. The narration quality is insane and the audio quality is insane. In fact, in any point in the story where Valdan is having like a flashback, there's this like hazy sound effect used, so you know that the scene you're listening to is happening in the past. I thought that was a very nice touch to the audiobook. But okay, so what is this book about and what did I think of it? Full transparency out the gate. I absolutely love this book. While not necessarily being like one of my all-time favorites, I think it has the potential to become so, and I would give this around a 4.5 stars. Why is that and what is it about? So first of all, we are following characters in this little plot of land called Dania, this little like valley, and what I love about this book is that it's able to feel so epic while still being confined to a relatively small land area, at least smaller than we usually see in a fantasy world like this. Like most epic fantasies, they want to be like continent spanning. In this, you really shine a lens on this small area of land and the different peoples that inhabit that land. And I think showing the different peoples of Dania it's really one of the strengths of this book, is seeing the different cultures and how they come together and how they interact with each other. So in this land of Dania, we have three cultures. We have the Guattari, where our main character Valdan is from. We have the Skalani, which our other main character of Elon is from. And then we have the Spali, which are kind of like the bad guys, the barbarians, the antagonistic force for our protagonists. And let me shine a little light on our protagonist. There's really two, maybe three main characters in this book, four if you really want to stretch it. The two most major ones are Valdan and Elon. And what I didn't expect going into this really is a romance story.
Fine. And I just want to be friends.
Good.
Plus a little extra. Also, I love you.
You know, it may be written and have a lot of the aesthetic values of a classical fantasy story. And I wouldn't consider this romantasy by any stretch of the imagination, but it is very, very romance focused, and I did enjoy that aspect. So we have Valdan. That is our main character, our number one protagonist, and the character the story kind of centers around because he is the Severing Sun, and he is this prophesied hero of the Guattari people, specifically the Lion family clan. I thought his relationship with his father was really nuanced and very different than what we see from most classical fantasy stories. You know, in Bound in the Broken, we see, a noble father. Same with Wheel of Time. Rand's father, Tam Althor, was this amazing patriarch, this infallible character. And Valdan's father, while being what other warriors look up to and what they admire. He's very much a flawed character, and he's a flawed father. And the way he speaks to Vaughn is not, the noble, perfect father that we usually see for our young farm boy protagonist. I would say Vaughn does remind me of a farm boy protagonist, but there is a lot of nuance to him. I love his struggle to not be his father while still redeeming the legacy of his father's name. And one thing I thought was interesting here is this is a very mild spoiler, but usually in a fantasy book, when the protagonist's parents are murdered, when their family is, slaughtered or whatever, usually the whole family is killed or the parents are killed, and that gives our character the freedom to go on his adventure. He kind of doesn't have to worry about these familial bonds and familial responsibilities. But in this, while there is, the tropey death of the parents to start the kid's journey, instead of it being he no longer has these responsibilities and there's a freedom in, him journeying out from home, when Vaughn parents perish from the Spali attacks, it is then the bestowing of the responsibility on Vaughn. He is given so much more pressures and so much more to live up to. And it really was before him being ready. He really wasn't ready whenever these responsibilities fell onto him with the death of his parents. Now, our other main character that we have is Elan, and she is the daughter of a healer, and she is part of the Skalani people. She is what is called a blade wielder, and she is a lover to the Princess Icanus. Now, I said that there were like 3 or 4 main characters. Icanus also gets a lot of viewpoints in this book, and I am not, an Icanus fan, but I do empathize with her, and I see where her mind was at, but I do also think she's a gaslighter and a manipulator. We do kind of get a little bit of a love triangle with Vaughn, Icanus, and Elan, and I thought it was well done. I'm not very much a love triangle guy. Very few instances do I actually enjoy that, but I thought it wasn't so overbearing to the plot that it bothered you. It was just a little bit of conflict with Elan and Vaughn relationship. Now, let me get into the negatives real quick before I gush about what was amazing about this book. Negative for me, I will never say that a book has, inherent flaws to it. I'll just say what didn't work for me. I thought some of the conflict between Vaughn and Elan was a little bit contrived. Some of it, most of it was fine. Because when you have this cultural clash and you have these two people who love each other and want to build a future, but their ways of life are so different, you're obviously going to have recurring issues, and it's going to be a cyclical problem of, there's this cultural divide. That being said, I do feel like it was a little too much. At times, I was because I thought they'd gotten past the difference in culture, and it just kept coming back to that. But I do think that may be part of what Vaughn Roycroft is trying to convey to us about the wedding of these two different cultures. But, aside from that, that's really the only negative I could find. This is going to be an overwhelmingly positive review. I very much enjoyed Vaughn's prose style. I enjoyed the themes he was trying to build. The themes of, is violence in the defense of your name, in the defense of your clan? Is it necessary? When is violence necessary? Is it wrong to use violence as a tool? Now, what I think most people will enjoy about this book is it has really amazing battle scenes. I thought the villains were well fleshed out. Specifically, Dress Drusen, I thought was an amazing villain. I enjoyed him. I enjoyed Death's Grin. I enjoyed the villains. I don't think there are any villains that will really wow you yet. But I do think the scope of this story will build, and the main antagonist that we're seeing now will not be the main antagonist of the series. And that's another thing I want to get into. The ending of this book really makes it feel like we are zoomed in to this very specific spot, and the final chapter in the epilogue makes it feel like we're going to spread out and we're really going to get a wider view of this world. Now, before I talk any more on it, I just want to give a little spoiler alert. So I'm going to talk spoilers here for a second. Some things that I thought were absolutely amazing. I loved the relationship between Vaughn and Angvar. I thought the expectation that he put on Vaughn was very realistic into how a lot of parents put so much weight on their children, and how that can affect their sons and the way their sons view themselves and the way they view their parents. Thought that was really well done. I love the relationship between Vaughn and Elan. I liked Elan and Icanus' relationship, which was a little groomy. I feel like Icanus, had so much prestige, and she was older, and she kind of let that authority influence the way she treated Elan and the way that their relationship kind of was built. One thing that I thought was amazing about this book that really like brought it into the 4.5 star range is I like how Drusen, the way he views the world, right? He views himself as this witting and cunning individual, and all these brutes are just lesser than him because he's so smart and he uses his mind, and that's why he's better. And Vaughn actually outsmarts him, embarrasses him in front of the Qatari people, and basically outwits him, outspeaks him. And I thought that was a very intentional choice by Mr. Roycroft, was to have his protagonist, who is the brute, the one who is a berserker. He's prone to the ugliness that takes him over. He was able to outsmart Drusen, and that was the way he defeated his enemy. Thought that was great. And the final chapter really makes me feel like we are going to get an expanded view of this world to more than just Dania. I also enjoyed the reveal that these epigraphs we're getting at the beginning are from Valdan and Elon's child. I thought that that was really cool. And I do hope that there is a time jump between this and Bold Ascension. Just because we're getting all these epigraphs from this kid, I want to see this kid grow up a little bit. I don't want it to be like a year afterwards. I'm hoping it's like a couple years following the events of Severing Sun at least. But yeah, I really enjoyed the Severing Sun. That is my brief spoiler talk and spoiler review discussion on The Severing Sun by Vaughn Roycroft.